Marcus Chen sat in the corner of the community center waiting room. His fingers moved slowly over his violin case. The case was old and worn. He could feel every scratch and dent. Marcus was 14 years old. He had learned to stay quiet. He had learned to not take up too much space. His white cane leaned against his knee. Around him, the room was full of noise. Other young musicians were warming up. They played scales. They practiced difficult parts of their songs. The sounds mixed together. It was loud and messy. Marcus listened to everything. He could hear a girl practicing piano runs. He could hear a boy singing high notes. He could hear violins, flutes, and cellos. Everyone sounded confident. Everyone sounded ready. A woman walked toward him. Her shoes made quick clicking sounds on the floor. Marcus knew who it was. Mrs. Patterson ran the talent showcase. She always sounded busy and stressed. "Marcus," she said. Her voice was tight. "I need to talk to you about today." Marcus lifted his head. "Yes, Mrs. Patterson. We are running very late today," she explained. "We have so many participants. More than we expected. When it is your turn, could you please keep it short? Maybe play quietly. We could put you in the back corner of the stage. That way, we can move things along faster." Marcus felt his heart drop. He had practiced for weeks. He had a special piece ready. It was a song he had arranged himself. He had mixed classical violin with modern sounds. The piece meant everything to him. But now he was being asked to make it small. To make it quick. To stay in the corner. "Okay," Marcus said quietly. What else could he say? Mrs. Patterson patted his shoulder. "Thank you for understanding. You're such a good kid." Then she walked away quickly. Her shoes clicked across the floor again. Marcus's mother sat next to him. Her name was Lisa. She had brought Marcus to the showcase. She had taken time off work to be there. Lisa put her hand on Marcus's shoulder. "You play your heart out," she whispered to him. No matter what she said, "You play the way you practiced." But Marcus could hear something in her voice. She sounded tired. She sounded like she expected this. Like she had seen it happen before. Because she had. This was not the first time someone had asked Marcus to be smaller. To be quieter. To not take up space. Marcus thought about his life. He had not always been blind. When he was 7 years old, he could see. He remembered colors. He remembered his mother's face. He remembered the way sunlight came through the trees. Then, he got sick. The sickness took his sight away. At first, everything was hard. Marcus bumped into things. He got lost in his own house. He felt scared all the time. But then he found music. His parents bought him a violin. They found a teacher named Mr. Kowalski. Mr. Kowalski was old. He had taught music for 40 years. He did not treat Marcus like he was broken. He did not feel sorry for him. He just taught him music. "You do not play with your eyes," Mr. Kowalski told him. "You play with your soul. Your ears are better than most people's eyes. Use that." Marcus practiced every day. At first, his fingers were clumsy. The sounds he made were awful. But slowly, he got better. He learned to feel the music. He learned to hear things other people missed. He learned to remember entire songs in his head. Without being able to read sheet music the normal way, Marcus had to create his own system. He memorized everything. He understood music through patterns and feelings. He knew when notes worked together. He knew when they did not. It was like learning a new language. Now, after 7 years of practice, Marcus was good. He was very good. Mr. Kowalski told him so. But other people did not see it that way. They saw a blind kid with a violin. They thought it was nice that he tried. They thought it was sweet, but they did not think he was a real musician. In the waiting room, Marcus heard other kids talking. They did not know he was listening. Or maybe they did not care. "Did you see they let the blind kid enter?" One voice said. "Yeah, they always do that." Another voice answered. "It's for inclusion or whatever." "I mean, it's nice," the first voice said. "But it kind of makes the competition weird, you know?" Marcus's hands tightened on his violin case. He had heard things like this before. People thought he could not hear them, or they thought he would not understand. but he understood perfectly. They thought he was there for show. They thought he was a charity case. They thought his blindness made him less of a musician. They were wrong. But Marcus had learned not to argue. He had learned to stay quiet. His mother heard the voices too. Lisa's hand squeezed his shoulder harder. She was angry. Marcus could tell. But she did not say anything either. What could she say? These were just kids repeating what they heard from adults. Marcus thought about all the money his mother had spent on lessons. She worked 2 jobs. She was a nurse during the day. She cleaned offices at night. Every dollar for violin lessons was a dollar she earned by working hard. She believed in him. She knew he had talent. Mr. Kowalski believed in him too. The old teacher had said something important last week during their lesson. "Marcus, you have something special," Mr. Kowalski had said. "You feel music in a way most people never will. Do not let anyone make you small. Do not let anyone tell you to be quiet. When you get on that stage, you show them what real music is." But now, sitting in the waiting room, Marcus felt small. Mrs. Patterson wanted him to play quietly, to stay in the corner, to be quick. The other kids thought he was just there for participation. Even his mother sounded like she expected disappointment. Marcus ran his fingers over his violin case again. Inside was his instrument. It was not expensive. It was not fancy, but it was his. He knew every inch of it. He knew how it sounded. He knew what it could do. He thought about the piece he had prepared. It started soft and gentle. It was based on his memories of seeing the colors he remembered, the light he missed. Then it grew stronger. It became about being blind, about the struggles, about being told to be quiet. And finally, it became about breaking through, about refusing to be small. Should he really play it quietly in the corner? Should he make it short and simple? Should he do what Mrs. Patterson asked? Or should he play it the way he had practiced, the way Mr. Kowalski taught him, the way the music deserved? Marcus did not know yet, but he would have to decide soon. His turn was coming. The performances had started 2 hours ago. Marcus sat backstage and listened. He could hear everything that happened on stage. He did not need to see to know how each performer was doing. A girl played piano first. She was very good. Her fingers moved fast across the keys. She played a piece by Rock. It was difficult music. She hit every note correctly. When she finished, the audience clapped loudly. Marcus heard the judges writing notes on their papers. Then, a boy sang. He had a strong voice. He sang a popular song that everyone knew. The audience sang along quietly. Some people recorded him on their phones. Marcus could hear the small sounds of the cameras. When the boy finished, people cheered. A string quartet played next. 4 musicians with 2 violins, a viola, and a cello. They all came from a fancy music academy in the city. Their parents had paid a lot of money for their training. They wore matching black outfits. They played together perfectly. Every note was exact. Every timing was right. Marcus listened carefully. They were good. Very good. But something was missing. They played the notes correctly, but the music felt empty. It was like reading words without understanding them. Beautiful sounds, but no feeling. Still, the judges seemed impressed. Marcus heard them talking quietly. "Excellent technique," one said. "Very professional," another agreed. The audience gave them a standing ovation. More performers came and went. A girl played flute. Twin brothers played guitar. A young woman sang opera. Everyone was talented. Everyone had practiced hard. The competition was tough. Marcus waited on a bench backstage. His mother sat with him. She held his hand. Neither of them talked much. What was there to say? Other competitors came and went from backstage. Some were nervous. Some were confident. Some were warming up, even though they had already performed. Marcus heard them talking. He heard lots of conversations. 2 girls stood near him. They were talking about their performances. Then one of them noticed Marcus. "Oh, is he the one?" she asked her friend. "Yeah, I think so," the friend answered. The blind kid, they were not whispering. They were talking at normal volume. Like Marcus could not hear them. or like it did not matter if he could. They always include special needs kids in these competitions, the first girl said. It is nice, I guess, but it kind of throws off the whole thing. I know what you mean, her friend agreed. Like it is sweet that he plays violin, but this is supposed to be a real competition, you know? Participation trophy energy, the first girl said. They both laughed. Marcus sat very still. His mother's hand squeezed his tighter. She had heard too. Lisa started to stand up. She was going to say something, but Marcus pulled her back down. Do not, he whispered. It is okay. It is not okay, Lisa said. Her voice was angry. Those girls have no idea what they are talking about. I know, Marcus said, but it does not matter. But it did matter. Of course it mattered. Those words hurt. They always hurt. Marcus had heard variations of them his whole life, ever since he lost his sight. People thought blindness meant he was less capable. They thought anything he did was impressive for a blind person. But they did not think he could really compete with sighted musicians. They saw his white cane before they heard his music. At school, teachers were nice to him. Too nice, they gave him easier assignments. They did not push him as hard. When he complained, they said they were being understanding. But understanding felt like pity, and pity felt like prison. Only Mr. Kowalski treated him differently. The old music teacher never made excuses for Marcus, never lowered his expectations. If Marcus played a wrong note, Mr. Kowalski corrected him. If Marcus was lazy in his practice, Mr. Kowalski called him out. You want special treatment? Mr. Kowalski had asked once when Marcus complained, go find another teacher. You want to be a real musician? Then work like one. Your blindness is not an excuse. It is a challenge. Challenges make us stronger. That was 3 years ago. Marcus had never forgotten those words. They made him angry at first. But then he understood. Mr. Kowalski was the only person who believed Marcus could be truly great. Not good for a blind kid. Just good, just great. Marcus thought about his teacher now. What would Mr. Kowalski say about playing quietly in the corner? About keeping it brief? About making himself small? He knew the answer. Mr. Kowalski would be disappointed. On stage, another performer finished. The audience clapped. The judges wrote more notes. Mrs. Patterson's voice came over a speaker backstage. We are making good progress, she announced. Please be ready when your name is called. We want to stay on schedule. Marcus checked his watch. It was a special watch for blind people. He pressed a button, and it spoke the time quietly into his ear. It was 4 in the afternoon. The showcase had been going since noon. People were getting tired. He could hear it in the audience. People were restless. Chairs creaked as they shifted position. Some people were whispering. Kids were getting bored. Parents were checking their phones more often. The energy in the room had changed. At the beginning, everyone was excited. Everyone paid attention. Now, people were tired. They had seen so many performances. They wanted to go home. Marcus was scheduled to perform near the end. That was bad timing. By the time his turn came, most people would be exhausted. They would not want to hear another violin. They would just want the day to be over. A boy sat down on the bench next to Marcus. He had just finished performing. He played cello. Marcus had heard him play. He was talented. Man, I am glad that is over, the boy said. He was talking to his friend. I was so nervous. You did great, his friend said. Way better than that blind kid is going to do. The cello player laughed. Dude, that is mean. What? I am just being honest, the friend said. How good can he be? He cannot even read music. He probably plays simple stuff, the cello player agreed. Kid songs or whatever. They kept talking, but Marcus stopped listening. He had heard enough. These were not mean kids. They were not trying to hurt him. They just assumed. Everyone assumed. They assumed blind meant limited. They assumed he played simple music. They assumed he was there for show, not for competition. They assumed wrong, but they did not know that yet. Marcus's mother was still sitting next to him. She had not said anything for a while. Now she leaned close to him. Marcus, she said softly. You do not have to do this. What do you mean? Marcus asked. We can leave, Lisa said. You do not have to perform if you do not want to. If they are going to treat you this way. Marcus thought about it. Part of him wanted to leave. Part of him was tired of fighting, tired of proving himself, tired of being underestimated. But another part of him was angry. Angry at the assumptions. Angry at being told to play quietly. Angry at being put in a corner. That angry part wanted to prove everyone wrong. I want to play, Marcus said. Are you sure? His mother asked. Yes, Marcus said. He was sure. He had worked too hard to quit now. Mr. Kowalski believed in him. His mother believed in him. He had to believe in himself too. On stage, another performer was finishing up. The audience clapped politely. The judges conferred with each other quietly. Mrs. Patterson's voice came over the speaker again. Next up, we have Marcus Chen playing violin, she announced. Her voice sounded tired too. Marcus, please come to the stage. This was it. Marcus stood up. He picked up his violin case and his white cane. His mother stood with him. I love you, Lisa said. Play your heart out. I will, Marcus promised. He walked toward the stage entrance. His cane tapped on the floor. Tap, tap, tap. The sound was steady, confident. Even if he did not feel confident inside, his walk sounded sure. As he approached the stage, he could hear the audience on the other side of the curtain. They sounded tired. Ready for the day to end. Some people were already leaving. He heard footsteps and quiet goodbyes. Mrs. Patterson met him at the stage entrance. Marcus, good. You are here. Remember what we discussed, quick and quiet. Just over there in the corner, she started to guide him toward the side of the stage, away from the center, away from the spotlight, to the corner where he would be small and quiet and quick. Marcus walked with her for a few steps. Then he stopped. Something inside him shifted. He thought about his mother working 2 jobs. He thought about Mr. Kowalski's lessons. He thought about 7 years of practice. He thought about the piece he had created. His piece. His music. His story. No more corners. No more quiet. No more small. Mrs. Patterson, Marcus said. His voice was polite but firm. I would like to play from the center of the stage, please. Mrs. Patterson paused. Oh, well, Marcus, I really think the center, please, Marcus repeated. There was a moment of silence. Then Mrs. Patterson sighed. All right, if you insist. She guided him to center stage. Right in the middle. Right in the spotlight, exactly where he belonged. Marcus stood at the edge of the stage. He could feel the space in front of him, large and open. The auditorium was big. He had been told it held 300 people. But it did not sound full anymore. Many people had left after their own children performed. The curtain was open. He could feel air moving from the audience area. He could hear sounds. Chairs squeaking. Papers rustling. Quiet conversations. A baby crying somewhere in the back. Phone notifications dinging. Marcus Chen will now perform on violin, the announcer said. Her voice sounded flat, tired, like she had said names all day and wanted to go home. Marcus heard the polite applause. It was not loud. It was not excited. It was the kind of clapping people do because they are supposed to. Courtesy applause. Nothing more. He heard whispers from the audience. He had good ears. Better than most people. When you cannot see, you learn to hear everything. Oh, he is blind, a woman whispered. Look at the cane. That is so brave, another woman said. Poor thing. How sweet, a man added. They always include everyone in these things now. Marcus's jaw tightened. Sweet, brave, poor thing. These words felt like walls. They trapped him before he even played a note. People had already decided what they were going to see. A blind boy, trying his best. Participation, inclusion. Nothing serious. Nobody expected real music. Mrs. Patterson appeared at his elbow. She touched his arm lightly. Come on, Marcus. This way. To the side. She tried to guide him to the right side of the stage. Away from center. away from the main spotlight, to the corner where he would be easy to ignore. But Marcus did not move to the side. Instead, he pulled his arm gently away from Mrs. Patterson. He adjusted his grip on his white cane. Then he walked forward. His cane tapped on the stage floor. Tap, tap, tap. Each tap was confident. Steady, he walked straight ahead, toward the center of the stage. Marcus, Mrs. Patterson called quietly behind him. Marcus, where are you going? Marcus did not answer. He kept walking. He counted his steps. He knew exactly where center stage was. He had asked the dimensions of the stage earlier. He had calculated the steps, 15 steps from the edge to the center. Tap, tap, 10 steps. 11 steps. 12 steps. Marcus, Mrs. Patterson said again. Her voice was sharper now, more urgent. But she could not stop him without making a scene. 15 steps. Marcus stopped. He was in the center of the stage now. Right in the middle. He could feel the spotlight's warmth on his face. The main spotlight. The one meant for the real performers. Behind him, he heard Mrs. Patterson's sharp breath. He heard her quick footsteps as she hurried off stage. She was probably embarrassed. Or worried. Or both. In the audience, the whispers got louder. Why is he standing there? Can he even tell where he is? Someone should help him. Marcus stood still for a moment. He let the whispers continue. He let people wonder. He was not lost. He was exactly where he meant to be. He folded his white cane and tucked it into his belt. Then he set down his violin case. He opened the latches slowly. Click, click. The sound echoed in the large room. The whispers faded a bit. People were curious now, watching. Marcus lifted his violin from the case. It was not a fancy instrument. It was not expensive. But it was his. He had played it for 7 years. He knew every scratch, every dent, every sound it could make. He also took out his bow. He checked the tension. He plucked each string to test the tuning. E string, A string, D string, G string. Perfect. He had tuned carefully backstage, but he checked again anyway. That is what good musicians do. The audience was quieter now. The baby had stopped crying. The conversations had stopped. People were watching this blind boy standing in center stage with complete confidence. Marcus lifted his violin. He positioned it under his chin. The familiar weight settled into place. His left hand found position on the neck. His right hand held the bow lightly but firmly. He stood tall. Straight back, feet, shoulder width apart, head up. This was the posture Mr. Kowalski had taught him. Stand like you own the stage, his teacher had said. Because, when you are playing, you do own it. Marcus took a slow breath. In through his nose, out through his mouth. He cleared his mind. He let go of the whispers. Let go of the comments. Let go of Mrs. Patterson's request to play quietly. Let go of the girls who called him a participation trophy. Let go of everything except the music. In the front row, 3 judges sat behind a long table. They had been writing notes all day, evaluating performances, giving scores. They looked tired too. But now they looked up with interest. One of the judges was a woman named Dr. Sarah Mills. She played violin in the City Philharmonic. She had judged this competition for 5 years. She had seen hundreds of young musicians. Most were good. Some were very good. Few were memorable. Dr. Mills noticed how Marcus stood. She noticed his posture, his confidence, the way he held his instrument. This was not a beginner. This was not someone playing for participation. This was a trained musician. She leaned forward slightly, interested. The second judge was a man named Robert Chen. No relation to Marcus. He was a piano professor at the university. He was strict. He had high standards. He did not give high scores easily. Professor Chen looked at Marcus with skeptical eyes. A blind teenager with a cheap violin, standing in center stage like he belonged there. It seemed arrogant. But Professor Chen decided to listen with an open mind. He would judge the music, not the musician. The third judge was younger. His name was James Wright. He taught music at a high school. He believed in giving young people chances. He liked the showcase because it helped students build confidence. But he also knew that confidence was not the same as talent. James looked at Marcus and felt uncertain. Should he judge this boy the same way he judged the others? Or should he be more generous because of the blindness? He did not know. He decided to wait and see. In the audience, Marcus's mother sat in the 10th row. Lisa had her hands clasped together. She was praying. Not religious prayers, just hoping people would listen. Hoping they would hear her son's talent. Hoping they would see past the blindness. Next to her sat an empty seat. That seat belonged to Marcus's father. But his father had left when Marcus was 9. 2 years after Marcus lost his sight, his father could not handle it. Could not handle having a disabled son. He left and never came back. Lisa had raised Marcus alone. She had worked 2 jobs. She had paid for lessons she could barely afford. She had driven him to practice when she was exhausted. She had believed in him when few others did. And now she sat in the audience holding her breath. On stage, Marcus was ready. His violin was positioned. His bow was poised. But he did not start playing immediately. Instead, he stood in silence. 5 seconds. 10 seconds. 15 seconds. The audience grew very quiet. The rustling stopped. The whispers stopped. Even the small sounds faded. Everyone was waiting. Wondering. Why was he not playing? Marcus was building tension. He was teaching the audience to listen. This was something Mr. Kowalski had taught him. Silence is part of music, his teacher had said. Make them wait. Make them wonder. Then, when you play, they will truly hear. 20 seconds of silence. The auditorium was now completely still. Dr. Mills, the judge in the front row, smiled slightly. This boy understood performance. He understood drama. He was not just going to play notes. He was going to tell a story. 25 seconds. Marcus took one more breath. Then, he began to play. The first note came out soft. Very soft. So soft that people in the back had to lean forward to hear it. It was a single, pure note. High on the E string. Held long and steady. The note floated in the air like a question. Like a memory. Like something fragile that might break. Then, a second note. Just as soft. Just as pure. The 2 notes together created a simple melody, gentle, almost sad. But beautiful. Marcus's face was calm, concentrated. He was not thinking about the audience anymore. He was not thinking about the judges. He was not thinking about anything except the music. His fingers moved on the strings. His bow drew across smoothly. The melody continued. Still soft. Still gentle. But, growing, building, going somewhere. In the audience, people stopped fidgeting. They stopped checking their phones. They stopped thinking about leaving early. Something was happening on that stage, something they had not expected. This was not a participation trophy. This was not a blind kid trying his best. This was music. Real music. Beautiful music. And it was only just beginning. The melody continued to unfold. Soft notes that seemed to float in the air. Marcus played with his eyes closed, though it made no difference. His world was always dark, but in that darkness, he saw the music clearly. This first section of his piece was called What I Remember. It was based on the last things Marcus had seen before losing his sight. He was 7 years old then, a normal kid with normal eyes. Then came the sickness. Meningitis. It happened so fast. One week, he was playing soccer with friends. The next week, he was in a hospital bed, fever, headaches. Then the medicine that saved his life but took his vision. The doctors said he was lucky to survive. But 7-year-old Marcus did not feel lucky. Now, at 14, he could barely remember what seeing felt like, but some images stayed with him. His mother's face, the way sunlight looked through tree leaves, the color blue, his old bedroom, his dog, Max, who died 2 years ago. These memories lived in the music now. The gentle notes were sunlight. The soft vibrato was his mother's voice. The pauses were moments of loss. Things he could remember, but never see again. Marcus's fingers moved across the fingerboard with careful precision. Each note had to be exact. Too sharp and it would sound wrong. Too flat and the feeling would change. He had practiced this section 1,000 times. Maybe more. His bow arm moved smoothly. Long, slow strokes. The bow hair caught the strings just right. Not too much pressure. Not too little. Just enough to create that pure singing tone. In the front row, Dr. Mills was completely focused now. She had stopped writing notes. She just listened. As a professional violinist, she could hear things other people missed. She could hear Marcus's technique. His intonation was perfect. Every note was exactly in tune. That was hard to do on violin. Unlike piano, where the notes are fixed, violinists have to find each note themselves. A millimeter too far left or right, and the note is wrong. Marcus found every note perfectly. His tone quality was also excellent. Rich and warm. Not scratchy, not thin. The sound filled the auditorium easily, even though he was playing softly. That took years of practice, controlling the bow, finding the sweet spot on the strings. But technique was only part of it. What impressed Dr. Mills more was the musicality. Marcus was not just playing notes. He was expressing something, feeling something. The music had emotion. It had meaning. She glanced at her fellow judges. Professor Chen was leaning forward, listening intently. James Wright had stopped writing too. All three judges were paying full attention now. In the audience, the atmosphere had completely changed. When Marcus first walked on stage, people were tired, ready to leave, politely tolerant at best. Now everyone was engaged. A man in the back row had been checking his email. Now his phone was in his pocket. A woman near the middle had been thinking about what to make for dinner. Now she was only thinking about the music. A teenager who had been bored all day was sitting up straight, actually interested. Marcus's mother, Lisa, had tears in her eyes. She recognized the music. Marcus had played it for her at home while practicing. She knew what it meant. She knew what memories he was expressing. Her heart felt like it might burst with pride and love. The melody began to develop. New notes joined the original theme. The harmony became more complex. Marcus was telling a story. The story was moving forward. His left hand moved to higher positions on the fingerboard. 3rd position. 5th position. The notes got higher, brighter, but still controlled. Still pure. Then he added vibrato. This is when a musician rocks their finger on the string to create a wavering, emotional sound. Good vibrato is hard to master. Too much and it sounds shaky. Too little and it sounds stiff. Marcus's vibrato was perfect. Controlled but expressive. The music started to ask questions. The melody would rise, then pause, like asking what happened. Then it would fall, like answering I lost something. Then rise again, asking will I find it? Then fall again, answering maybe not. This conversation happened in pure sound. No words needed. Everyone in the audience understood it somehow. They felt the questions. They felt the loss. A small girl, maybe 6 years old, sat with her parents. She had been restless all afternoon, but now she sat perfectly still. Her eyes were wide. She was mesmerized by the sounds. She did not understand technique or music theory, but she understood feeling. "Mummy, why does the music sound sad?" she whispered. Honey. Just listen, her mother whispered back. But the mother understood the question. The music did sound sad. Beautifully sad. The kind of sadness that makes you feel more human. Marcus was completely absorbed in his playing now. He had entered that special state musicians call flow, where you stop thinking and just play, where the music comes through you rather than from you, where everything else disappears. His body swayed slightly with the phrases. Not a lot. Just enough to feel the music physically. His face showed the emotion. When the melody climbed, his eyebrows lifted. When it fell, his face showed the weight. He was not performing for the audience anymore. He was not trying to impress the judges. He was simply being honest, playing the truth of his experience. That honesty was what made it powerful. The first section began to conclude. The melody returned to the opening theme, but it was different now. changed by the journey. The same notes, but they meant something new. They had gained weight, understanding. Marcus held the final note of the section. He let it ring for a long time. 3 seconds. 4 seconds. 5 seconds. The note faded naturally, slowly disappearing into silence. For a moment, there was complete quiet in the auditorium. Nobody moved. Nobody made a sound. Everyone was holding their breath. Then Marcus changed everything. His bow attacked the strings with sudden force. The gentle melody was gone. Now the music was aggressive, powerful, loud. This was the second section, the one Marcus called breaking through. The tempo was faster. The notes were harder. The music was angry now. Not gentle loss anymore. Now it was frustration, fight, refusal to accept limitation. Marcus's bow flew across the strings. His left-hand fingers moved rapidly. Position shifts, quick notes, double stops where he played 2 strings at once. The technical difficulty jumped dramatically. Several people in the audience gasped. They had not expected this. The gentle blind boy playing soft, pretty music was gone. This was a warrior. This was someone fighting. In the wings, Mrs. Patterson stood with her mouth open. This was not quiet. This was not brief. This was not what she had asked for, but she could not look away. She was riveted. The string quartet who had performed earlier stood backstage. They had stayed to watch. Now they looked at each other in shock. This level of playing was beyond what they had expected, way beyond. Is he really blind? One of them whispered. How is he doing this? Another asked. They had assumed Marcus would play simple music. Maybe a folk song. Maybe a basic classical piece. They never imagined he could handle this level of technical complexity. But here he was, executing it flawlessly. Professor Chen, the strict judge, was writing notes rapidly now. His face showed surprise. He had judged Marcus too quickly. He had made assumptions. Now those assumptions were being shattered with every measure. The music continued to build. Marcus was not holding back anymore. This was everything he had. All the frustration of being underestimated. All the anger at being told to play quietly. All the determination to prove he belonged. His bow arm was a blur. His fingers moved so fast, they were hard to follow. He was playing passages that would challenge even professional violinists. And he was nailing them. But it was not just about showing off technique. The music still had meaning. The anger was real. The fight was real. You could hear someone refusing to be small, refusing to hide, refusing to accept limits others tried to place on them. A boy sitting in the audience was one of the competitors who had called Marcus a participation trophy earlier. Now he felt sick to his stomach. Ashamed he had been so wrong, so stupidly, completely wrong. The music was not just good, it was exceptional. It was the kind of playing you do not forget. The kind that changes how you think about music, about ability, about what is possible. Marcus's whole body was moving now, not in a wild way, but in the way musicians move when they are completely connected to their instrument. When the line between player and music disappears. Sweat formed on his forehead. This section was physically demanding. His left hand was cramping slightly. But he did not slow down, did not simplify. He pushed through. The melody climbed higher and higher, more urgent, more intense, building to something, racing toward something. Everyone in the auditorium was on the edge of their seats. Where was this going? How would it end? Marcus gave them the answer. He played a series of fast ascending runs, each one higher than the last, each one more urgent. The music was climbing, breaking through, rising up. And then, at the peak, he hit one perfect crystal clear note in the highest register, a harmonic that rang out like a bell, pure and bright and triumphant. He held that note. Let it sing, let it soar. Let it tell everyone in that room that he was here. He was real. He was a musician. Not despite his blindness. Just a musician, period. The note finally faded, but this time, Marcus did not pause. He immediately moved into the next section. The music softened again, but it was different now. Not sad anymore, not angry. The music had changed again. After the anger and fire, something gentler emerged. But it was not the same gentleness as the beginning. This was stronger, more certain, like someone who had fought through a storm and found solid ground on the other side. Marcus called this section Finding My Way. It represented the years after he lost his sight. The difficult years, learning to navigate a dark world. Learning that darkness did not mean helpless. The melody was slower now, but more complex. Multiple voices seemed to sing at once. Marcus played double stops, pressing 2 strings at the same time to create harmony. It sounded like a conversation, like different parts of himself talking to each other. One voice asked questions, another answered. One voice expressed doubt, another gave courage. All of it coming from one violin. One blind boy, standing alone in the spotlight. His technique had evolved throughout the piece. Now he was using every skill he had learned. Pizzicato, plucking the strings with his fingers instead of the bow. Then back to bowing. Staccato, short separate notes. Then legato, smooth connected notes. Each technique served the story. Dr. Mills watched with professional amazement. She had played violin for 30 years. She taught at the conservatory. She performed with and she was watching a 14-year-old boy demonstrate mastery that some of her college students had not achieved. But it was more than mastery. It was originality. This piece was not something from the standard repertoire. Marcus had written it himself, arranged it. The harmonies were sophisticated. The structure was clear. The emotional arc was perfect. "He is a composer too," she whispered to Professor Chen. Professor Chen nodded. He had already figured that out. The music had a personal quality that could only come from the person who lived it. This was not Marcus playing someone else's story. This was Marcus telling his own. James Wright, the young judge, had stopped writing entirely. His scoring sheet sat blank. How do you score something like this? How do you assign numbers to truth, to courage, to art that makes you forget you were supposed to be evaluating? In the audience, something remarkable was happening. People were not just listening anymore. They were experiencing. The music had created a space where everyone felt connected. Connected to Marcus. Connected to each other. Connected to something bigger than themselves. A woman in the 8th row was crying. She did not know why exactly. The music just opened something in her. Released feelings she did not know she had been holding. Her husband reached over and held her hand. A teenage boy who had performed earlier that day felt his chest tighten. He had played well. The judges had praised him. But he realized now that he had only played notes. Marcus was playing life. There was a difference, a big difference. The music continued to develop. Marcus introduced a new theme, lighter, almost playful. This represented the joy he found in music. The way his violin became his eyes, his voice, his connection to the world. His bow danced across the strings. Quick, light strokes. The notes bounced and played. There was humor here. Lightness, after all, the sadness and anger. Here was happiness. Hard-won happiness. The kind that means more because you fought for it. Marcus smiled slightly as he played this section. It was a small smile, private, not for the audience. Just for himself, because this part of the music made him remember good things. His first successful performance. The day Mr. Kowalski told him he had real talent. His mother's proud face. His dog Max licking his face after practice. In the wings, other young musicians watched in silence. The 2 girls who had called Marcus a participation trophy stood frozen. One of them had her hand over her mouth. She felt horrible, guilty. How could she have been so wrong about someone? The other girl had tears running down her face. She was not sad, she was moved. The music was so honest, it hurt. It exposed her own shallowness, her own quick judgments. She had learned something important today, though the lesson was painful. The boy who played cello, who had joked about Marcus playing kids' songs, felt small, really small. He was a good musician. He knew it. But he was not this good. Maybe he would never be this good. Because Marcus had something you could not learn from lessons. He had authenticity, truth, a story that mattered. Marcus moved into a new section. The tempo increased again, but this was not anger like before. This was energy, excitement, forward motion. The music seemed to run, to leap, to soar. His bow flew across the strings with controlled fury. His fingers raced up and down the fingerboard. He played passages in high positions that required perfect intonation and nerve. One wrong move and the note would screech. But Marcus never missed. Never hesitated. This section represented the future. All the possibilities, all the dreams. Marcus was not content to just survive as a blind musician. He wanted to excel, to compete, to win, to show the world that blind did not mean less. The music built and built, layer upon layer, complexity upon complexity. It was becoming almost orchestral. How could one violin create so much sound, so much feeling? It seemed impossible, but it was happening. Mrs. Patterson, still standing in the wings, had completely forgotten about her schedule. She had forgotten about keeping things brief. She had forgotten about her stress and her planning. She was just watching, just listening, realizing she had almost made a terrible mistake. If she had insisted Marcus play in the corner, quietly, briefly, nobody would have heard this. This would have been wasted, hidden. She felt grateful that Marcus had ignored her request. He had known better. The music began to approach its final climax. Everything was building towards something. You could feel it in the room. The tension, the anticipation. Where was this going? How would it end? Marcus's face showed intense concentration. His forehead was beaded with sweat. His arms were tired. His fingers ached. But he did not let up. Could not let up. He had to finish what he started. The melody climbed higher. The tempo faster. The dynamics louder. Every element pushing forward. Pushing up. Pushing through. He played a series of rapid scales, each one faster than the last, each one higher. The notes blurred together into a river of sound, a waterfall of music rushing toward the edge. Then came the technical peak of the piece. A passage Marcus had worked on for months. It required perfect coordination between left and right hand, lightning-fast position shifts, precise bow control, impeccable rhythm. Many professional violinists would struggle with this passage. But Marcus played it cleanly. Every note clear, every timing exact. His muscle memory was so deep that his hands knew what to do without thought. In the audience, several musicians recognized the difficulty. They gasped. They looked at each other with wide eyes. How was a 14-year-old executing this? How was a blind 14-year-old executing this? But Marcus was not thinking about difficulty. He was not thinking about technique. He was in the music, part of it, flowing with it. The notes came through him as naturally as breathing. The climax approached. The music gathered all its energy, all its themes, all its emotions. Everything was converging toward one moment. Marcus's entire body moved with the music now. He swayed, he stepped, he turned slightly, using the whole stage, not trapped in one corner, claiming the space, owning it. His bow arm was a blur of motion. His left-hand fingers flew. The sound grew louder and louder, fuller and fuller. One violin sounding like many. Then, at the very peak, Marcus played a series of soaring double stops. 2 strings at once, creating harmony with himself. The sound was huge, triumphant, glorious. He held the final double stop, both notes ringing out together. A perfect 5th interval, powerful and stable. The sound filled every corner of the auditorium, filled every heart. The note sustained. 4 seconds. 5 seconds. 6 seconds. Marcus poured everything into it. Every ounce of strength. Every bit of emotion. This was it. This was his statement. This was his truth. I am here. I am real. I matter. The notes began to fade naturally. Marcus let them go slowly. The sound diminished but kept its quality, pure and clear to the very end. 7 seconds. 8 seconds. 9 seconds. Finally, silence. Marcus lowered his violin slowly. His bow dropped to his side. He stood very still, breathing hard. Sweat ran down his face. His arms trembled slightly from exertion. He had played everything. Given everything. Left nothing behind. The piece was complete. His story was told. For a long moment, the auditorium was completely silent. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The music still hung in the air somehow, even though it had ended. Marcus stood alone in the spotlight, waiting, wondering, did they understand? Did they hear? Then, from somewhere in the back row, a single person stood up. Then another. Then another. Within seconds, the entire audience was on their feet. Every single person. Standing. And then the applause began. It was not polite applause. It was not courtesy clapping. It was thunder. It was an earthquake of sound. Hands coming together so hard they hurt. Voices shouting appreciation, whistles, cheers. The applause rolled over Marcus like a wave. He stood very still, trying to process it. His face showed confusion first. Then understanding. Then emotion. They heard. They really heard. His mother was on her feet in the 10th row, clapping so hard her hands stung. Tears streamed down her face. She was not sad. She was proud. So proud, she thought her heart might explode. The judges were standing too, all three of them. The applause continued for what felt like forever. Marcus stood in the spotlight, his violin still in hand, trying to understand what was happening. He had played his piece. He had given everything. And now, people were responding in a way he had never experienced. He could hear the clapping from every direction. Front, back, left, right, above in the balcony. The sound surrounded him completely. It was loud. So loud it was almost overwhelming. But there were other sounds too. Voices shouting bravo. Whistles, stomping feet. Some people were crying. He could hear the small sounds of tears and sniffles mixed with the applause. Marcus felt his own eyes start to burn. He was going to cry too. But he did not want to. Not here, not now. He tried to hold it back. Tried to stay composed. Mrs. Patterson rushed onto the stage. Her heels clicked rapidly on the floor. She reached Marcus and put her hand on his shoulder. She was breathing fast. Her voice was excited when she spoke. "Marcus, that was incredible," she said loudly, close to his ear so he could hear over the applause. "Absolutely incredible. Take a bow. A bow, right." Marcus had forgotten about that. He was supposed to bow. He tried to remember how Mr. Kowalski had taught him. Feet together. Bend at the waist. Hold for a moment. Then straighten. He did it. He bowed. The applause somehow got even louder. More shouts of approval. More cheers. Again, Mrs. Patterson said, "Bow again." Marcus bowed a second time. Then a third. Each time, the applause surged. People did not want to stop clapping. They wanted him to know. To really know. That what he had done mattered. In the front row, Dr. Mills was still clapping. Her hands hurt, but she did not care. In her 30 years of judging competitions, she had never seen anything like this. Technical excellence she had seen. Musical maturity she had seen. But this combination of skill, emotion, and pure authenticity was rare. Very rare. She looked at her fellow judges. Professor Chen caught her eye. He smiled and shook his head in amazement. They did not need to speak. They both knew. The competition was over. Marcus had won. There was no question. James Wright, the youngest judge, was wiping his eyes. He was not embarrassed to cry. What Marcus had done deserved tears. Deserved emotion. This was why music mattered. This was why they taught it. For moments like this, the audience began to settle slightly. The applause continued, but some people sat down. They were tired from standing. Their hands hurt from clapping, but they kept applauding, just more gently now. Marcus stood on stage, unsure what to do next. Should he leave? Should he stay? Mrs. Patterson must have sensed his uncertainty. "You can go now," she said kindly. "Well done, Marcus. So well done." Marcus nodded. He bent down and carefully put his violin back in its case. His hands were shaking slightly. From the playing, from the emotion, from everything. He closed the case latches. Click, click. He picked up the case by its handle. Then he retrieved his white cane from his belt. He unfolded it with a quick motion. Snap. The cane extended to full length. The applause was finally starting to fade as Marcus walked toward the stage exit. But it did not stop completely. People were still clapping as he left, still showing appreciation. As Marcus stepped into the wings, he was immediately surrounded by people. Other performers, stage crew, parents who had come backstage. Everyone wanted to congratulate him. "That was amazing," someone said. "I have never heard anything like that." Another person added, "You are so talented," a girl's voice told him. Hands patted his back, touched his arm. Everyone wanted to connect with him somehow, to be part of what had just happened. Marcus mumbled thank you over and over. He was still processing, still trying to understand. His mind felt fuzzy. Overwhelmed, he needed space. Quiet. Time to think. Then he heard his mother's voice cutting through the crowd. "Marcus, Marcus, baby." "Mom," he called back. Lisa pushed through the people. She reached her son and immediately pulled him into a tight hug. She was crying. Really crying. Her body shook with it. "I am so proud of you," she said into his ear. "So proud. Do you know what you just did? Do you understand?" Marcus hugged her back. Now his own tears came. He could not hold them back anymore. They ran down his face as he held on to his mother. "I played it right," he said. "I played it the way it was supposed to be." "You played it perfectly," Lisa said. "Not just the notes, everything. You were perfect." They stood there holding each other while people moved around them. Nobody interrupted. Everyone understood. This was a moment between mother and son, a moment they had earned through years of struggle and work and belief. Finally, they separated. Lisa wiped Marcus's face with her hand, then wiped her own face. They were both a mess, but they were smiling. "Where is Mr. Kowalski?" Marcus asked suddenly. "Is he here? Did he hear?" "I do not know," Lisa admitted. "I have not seen him, but I can look." She did not have to look far. The old music teacher appeared from the crowd. Mr. Kowalski moved slowly. He was 72 years old. His back was bent with age, but his face was bright with joy. "Marcus," he said simply. "Mr. Kowalski," Marcus replied. "You were here?" "Of course I was here," the old teacher said. "You think I would miss this? I have been here since the beginning. Sitting in the back, listening to everyone. Waiting for you. Did I do okay?" Marcus asked. Even after all that applause, he still wanted his teacher's approval. Mr. Kowalski laughed. It was a wheezy, old man laugh. But it was genuine. "Okay. Marcus, you just gave one of the best performances I have heard in my entire life, and I have heard many. You did not just play the notes I taught you. You became the music. That is what true musicians do. And you are a true musician." Marcus felt his chest swell with pride. Mr. Kowalski did not give compliments easily. When he praised, he meant it. "Thank you," Marcus said. "For everything, for believing in me when nobody else did." "I did not believe in you," Mr. Kowalski corrected. "I saw what was already there. I just helped you find it. You did the work. You have the gift. I was just a guide." They talked for a few more minutes. Then Mr. Kowalski had to sit down. His legs were tired. Lisa helped him to a chair backstage. But the old teacher kept smiling, kept nodding with satisfaction. Meanwhile, in the auditorium, the showcase continued. There were still a few performers left, but everyone knew the competition was essentially over. The kids who performed after Marcus had an impossible task. Following that was like following a lightning strike with a candle. A girl played piano. She was good, technically skilled, but after Marcus, it felt flat, empty. The audience clapped politely, but without passion. A boy sang. He had a nice voice, but again, after Marcus, it could not compare. It was not the boy's fault. He was talented, but he was performing in the shadow of something extraordinary. The final performer was a girl with a flute. She played a classical piece. Mozart, maybe. It was fine. Perfectly fine. But fine was not enough today. Not after what everyone had just witnessed. When the last note ended, the showcase was officially over. Mrs. Patterson took the stage again. "Thank you all for coming," she announced. "We will now take a short break while the judges make their final decisions. Please remain in your seats, or feel free to stretch your legs. We will announce the winners shortly." But everyone already knew who had won. In the audience, people were talking about Marcus. Only Marcus. That blind kid was incredible. I cannot believe what I just heard. He should win easily. Did you see how he moved on stage? So confident, and he wrote that piece himself. Amazing. In the judging area, the three judges gathered around their table. They had their scoring sheets in front of them, but Dr. Mills did not even look at hers. "Well," she said, "I think we all know who won first place." Professor Chen nodded. "Marcus Chen, no question." James Wright agreed. "I have never scored someone so high. In every category. Technical skill, musical interpretation, originality, stage presence. He was perfect." They quickly worked through the other placements. Second place went to the string quartet. Third place, to a girl who sang opera. But first place was never in doubt. Dr. Mills filled out the winner form. She wrote Marcus's name in clear letters. Then all three judges signed it. It was official. Mrs. Patterson collected the results. She glanced at the paper and smiled. She was not surprised. She had known the moment Marcus finished playing. She had known from the audience's reaction. She walked back to the stage. The microphone was already on. The audience settled down, eager to hear what they already knew. "Ladies and gentlemen," Mrs. Patterson began, "thank you for your patience. The judges have made their decisions. This year's Regional Talent Showcase was full of exceptional performances. We saw remarkable skill and dedication from all our participants." She paused, building suspense. Though there was no real suspense. In third place, performing O Mio Babino Caro, we have Sarah Martinez. Applause. The opera girl came on stage. She accepted her certificate and small trophy. She smiled, but she looked disappointed. She had hoped for first place. In second place, we have the Forest Hills String Quartet. More applause. The four musicians came on stage together. They took their award gracefully. They too had expected to win, but they understood. What Marcus did was different, better, and now first place. Mrs. Patterson paused again. "With one of the most remarkable performances I have witnessed in my 20 years of running this showcase. The winner is Marcus Chen." The applause erupted again, even louder than before. Everyone stood up again. The standing ovation returned. People cheered, whistled, celebrated. Marcus, backstage, was surprised. He had not really expected to win. He had just wanted to play well. To be heard. Winning seemed almost impossible. "You won." His mother shouted, hugging him again. "First place, you won." Mr. Kowalski was laughing and clapping from his chair. Other performers backstage applauded too. Some genuinely happy, some forcing smiles, but all acknowledging his victory. Mrs. Patterson called into the wings. "Marcus, come accept your award." Marcus picked up his cane. He walked carefully onto the stage. The applause grew louder as he appeared. He made his way to where Mrs. Patterson stood. She guided his hand to the large trophy. It was heavy metal, with a figure of a musician on top. "Congratulations, Marcus," Mrs. Patterson said into the microphone. "Would you like to say anything?" Marcus had not prepared a speech. He had not imagined winning. He stood there for a moment, holding the trophy, thinking. Then he spoke. His voice was quiet at first, but he moved closer to the microphone. "Thank you," he said. "Thank you to the judges. Thank you to everyone who listened. Thank you to my mum, who works so hard so I can have lessons. And thank you to Mr. Kowalski, who taught me that being blind does not mean being less. It just means being different. And different can be good." The applause rose again. Marcus smiled, a real, genuine smile. He had done it. Not just played well. Not just won. He had proven something. To himself. To everyone. He had proven he belonged. 3 weeks had passed since the showcase. Marcus sat in his room at home, holding his trophy. He had placed it on his desk, where he could reach it easily. Sometimes he would touch it. Feel the cold metal. The engraved plate on the base. His name was there. First place, Marcus Chen. Life had changed after that day. Not in huge ways. Not in dramatic ways. But in small, important ways. At school, people treated him differently now. They had always known Marcus played violin. But now they understood what that meant. He was not just a blind kid who played music. He was a musician. A real one. Kids who had ignored him before now said hello in the hallways. Some even asked questions about music. About his violin. About how he learned to play. Marcus answered patiently, though sometimes it was tiring. Everyone suddenly wanted to know his story. Teachers treated him differently too. They stopped making things easier for him without asking. They stopped assuming he needed help. They started pushing him harder, expecting more. It was what Marcus had always wanted. His music class teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, had asked him to perform at the school concert next month. Not as the blind student doing something inspirational, just as a talented musician who earned a spot. Marcus had agreed. But the biggest change was inside himself. Marcus felt different, more confident, not arrogant, just sure. Sure of his abilities, sure of his place in the world, sure that blindness was just one part of him, not the only part. He still used his white cane, still needed help with some things, still could not see. But somehow those facts mattered less now. They did not define him. They were just circumstances, like having brown hair, or being 5'6". Just facts, not limits. His phone buzzed. A text message. Marcus used a screen reader that spoke the text aloud to him. Marcus, this is Dr. Sarah Mills from the Showcase Judges. I would like to discuss an opportunity with you. Could we schedule a phone call? Marcus read the message 3 times. Dr. Mills was a professional violinist. What could she want? Was this real? Was someone playing a joke? He showed the message to his mother. Lisa was in the kitchen making dinner. Mum, look at this, Marcus said. Lisa read the message. Her eyes went wide. Marcus, this is incredible. You have to call her back. What if it is a mistake? Marcus asked. It is not a mistake, Lisa said firmly. She saw what you can do. She knows talent when she hears it. Call her. Marcus took a deep breath. He used his phone's voice command to dial the number Dr. Mills had left. The phone rang twice. Then a woman's voice answered. Hello, hi. This is Marcus Chen. I got a message. Marcus, thank you for calling so quickly. I will get right to the point. I was extremely impressed by your performance at the showcase. Not just impressed, amazed. I would like to offer you a scholarship. Marcus's heart started beating faster. A scholarship? Yes. To study at the City Conservatory. We have a youth program for exceptional young musicians. It includes private lessons, ensemble training, and performance opportunities. The program is usually quite expensive, but you would receive a full scholarship. Everything covered. Marcus could not speak for a moment. The City Conservatory was one of the best music schools in the region. Professional musicians trained there. It was where serious musicians went. I do not know what to say, Marcus stammered. Say you will think about it, Dr. Mills said kindly. Talk to your family. Talk to your current teacher. This would be a big commitment. 3 evenings per week, plus Saturday mornings. But I think you have the talent and dedication to benefit greatly from the program. Thank you, Marcus said. Thank you so much. I will definitely think about it. Wonderful. I will email you the details. Take your time deciding. But Marcus, you have something special. Do not waste it. The call ended. Marcus sat in stunned silence. His mother was crying again. Happy tears. She seemed to cry a lot these days. Happy tears were better than sad ones. The conservatory, Lisa whispered. My baby is going to study at the conservatory. I have not decided yet, Marcus said. But he was smiling. He knew he would say yes. How could he not? That evening, Mr. Kowalski came to visit. He had a cane of his own now. His hip was bothering him. He sat in the living room with Marcus and Lisa, drinking tea. Marcus told him about Dr. Mills's call, about the scholarship offer. Mr. Kowalski listened quietly, nodding occasionally. What do you think? Marcus asked when he finished. Should I do it? Mr. Kowalski was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke. Marcus, I have been teaching you for 7 years. You were a frightened little boy when we started. You could barely hold the violin. You were so angry at the world for taking your sight. Remember? Marcus nodded. He remembered. I watched you grow, Mr. Kowalski continued. Not just as a musician, as a person. You learned to channel your anger into music, your pain into beauty, your limitations into strengths. You became something I could never teach. You became an artist. The old teacher paused. He took a sip of tea. I can teach you technique. I can teach you theory. But I cannot teach you what you have. That comes from inside, from your experiences, from your truth. The conservatory can help you refine your gifts, can open doors for you. But do not let anyone try to change who you are. Your voice is unique. Keep it that way. So I should go? Marcus asked. Yes, Mr. Kowalski said. You should go. You have outgrown what I can teach you. It is time for the next step. Just promise me one thing. What? Promise me you will never play quietly in the corner again. Not for anyone. Not ever. Marcus smiled. I promise. They talked for another hour. Mr. Kowalski told stories about famous musicians he had known, about his own days as a young performer, about the joy and the struggle of a life in music. Marcus listened, absorbing every word. When Mr. Kowalski left, Marcus went to his room. He took out his violin. Not to practice, just to hold. He ran his fingers along the wood. Felt the strings. The smooth neck. The curve of the body. This instrument had saved him, had given him purpose, had shown him that losing his sight did not mean losing himself. Music had been his light in the darkness. He thought about the showcase, about standing in center stage, about refusing to hide, about playing with everything he had, about the applause that followed. But more than that, he thought about the moment before he played. That moment of decision, when he could have gone to the corner, could have played quietly, could have made himself small, but chose not to. That choice had changed everything. Marcus remembered the people who had doubted him, the girls who called him a participation trophy, the competitors who assumed he would play simple music, Mrs. Patterson who asked him to be brief and quiet, even some of the audience members who watched him walk on stage with pity in their eyes. He was not angry at them anymore. They had made assumptions based on what they could see. They did not know what they could not see. His determination, his skill, his heart, those things were invisible. Until he played. And when he played, everything changed. Their assumptions broke. Their pity turned to respect. Their doubt turned to belief. Because the music told the truth. And truth is hard to deny. Marcus put his violin back in its case. He touched his trophy one more time. Then he went to find his mother. Lisa was still in the kitchen. She was washing dishes, humming softly. She seemed happy, really happy. Marcus could hear it in her humming. Mum, yes, honey. I want to accept the scholarship. To the conservatory. Lisa turned off the water. She dried her hands on a towel. Then she walked over and hugged her son. I am so proud of you, she said. Every single day, I am so proud. I know, Marcus said. I could not have done any of this without you. Working all those jobs, paying for lessons, driving me everywhere, believing in me. That is what mothers do, Lisa said. We believe in our children, even when they do not believe in themselves. They stood there in the kitchen, holding each other. Outside, the sun was setting. Marcus could not see it, but he could feel the temperature changing, could hear the evening sounds beginning, birds settling for the night, traffic slowing down, the world transitioning from day to night. He had his own transitions ahead. New school, new teachers, new challenges, but he was ready, more ready than he had ever been. The next day at school, Marcus told his friends about the scholarship. They were excited for him. Genuinely excited. His best friend David punched his arm lightly. "Man, you are going to be famous someday," David said, "and I will say, I knew you when." Marcus laughed. "I do not want to be famous. I just want to play music." "You will do both," David predicted. "You are too good not to." Maybe David was right, maybe not. Marcus did not care about fame. He cared about music, about expressing himself, about connecting with people, about proving that different does not mean less. In music class that day, Mrs. Rodriguez asked Marcus to play something for the class. She did this sometimes now. She had never asked before the showcase, but now she understood his ability. Marcus took out his violin. He did not play his competition piece. That was special, personal. Instead, he played a simple folk song, something everyone knew, but he played it his way. With feeling, with interpretation, with the musicality that made everything he touched unique. The class listened in silence. When he finished, they applauded. Not the thunderous applause of the showcase. Just classroom applause. But it was real, appreciative, respectful. After school, Marcus had a lesson with Mr. Kowalski. These lessons would continue until Marcus started at the conservatory. The old teacher had 3 more months with his star pupil. Today, they worked on a new piece. Something difficult, technically challenging, but Marcus was ready for challenges. He welcomed them. "Your bow arm is getting sloppy," Mr. Kowalski said. "Watch your angle there. Better." Marcus adjusted. He played the passage again. "Better this time. More control." "Good," Mr. Kowalski said. "You are improving. But do not get cocky. Winning one competition does not make you a master. You still have much to learn." "I know," Marcus said. "Do you really?" The old teacher's voice was serious. "Because I have seen talented young people get one success and stop working. They think they have arrived. But there is no arriving. Music is a journey, not a destination. You must always push yourself, always improve, always learn." "I understand," Marcus said. And he did. He had no intention of stopping. The showcase was not the end of his story, it was the beginning. That night, Marcus lay in bed, thinking. 3 weeks ago, he was nervous, scared, unsure if anyone would listen, if anyone would take him seriously, if he really belonged in that competition. Now he knew. He belonged, not because someone gave him permission, but because he claimed his space, because he refused to be quiet, because he played his truth. The trophy on his desk was nice. The scholarship was incredible. The respect he earned was gratifying. But the most important thing was the lesson he learned. Never make yourself small for someone else's comfort. Never hide your light to make others feel better. Never play quietly in the corner when you deserve center stage. These lessons were bigger than music. They applied to everything. To life, to identity, to existence. Marcus was blind. That was a fact. It created challenges, made some things harder, but it did not make him less, it made him different. And different had value. Different had strength. Different had beauty. He thought about all the blind kids who would come after him. Kids who would be told to be quiet, to stay in corners, to not expect too much. He hoped his story would reach them somehow, would show them what was possible. Not every blind kid would be a musician. That was fine. But every blind kid deserved to know they could be great at something, could excel, could stand in their own spotlight and shine. Marcus closed his eyes. Not that it made any difference. His world was always dark, but it was a darkness full of sound, full of music, full of possibilities. He thought about the future. The conservatory, new pieces to learn, new performances to give, new stages to conquer. He was ready, excited, eager. But he was also grateful for the past, for the struggles that made him strong, for the people who believed in him, for the moment when everything changed, the moment he chose not to play quietly, the moment he claimed center stage, the moment he showed the world who he really was, that moment changed his life. But it also changed something bigger. It changed how people saw him, saw his blindness, saw his abilities. One performance could not change the world. Marcus knew that there would still be people who underestimated him, still be assumptions and pity and doubt, but at least some people knew better now. At least some minds had been changed, and maybe those people would treat the next blind person differently. Maybe they would think twice before assuming limitation. Maybe they would look deeper, listen harder, see beyond the surface. That was Marcus's real victory, not the trophy, not the scholarship, but the ripple effect, the small change in how people thought, the tiny shift in perspective. One performance could not change the world, but it could start something, and starts mattered. Beginnings mattered. First steps mattered. Marcus had taken his first step, standing in center stage, playing his truth, refusing to be quiet. Now he would take many more steps. On stages he could not yet imagine, playing music he had not yet written, becoming a musician he had not yet fully realized, but those steps would all trace back to this moment. This choice. This refusal to be small. He smiled in the darkness. Then he fell asleep, dreaming of music yet to come.